This is the story of a girl who likes to think she knows a lot. We'll call her Tori. Tori is a student at the University of Regina. She is a white, middle-class, heterosexual female. She is also a twin, a gymnastics coach, and a vegetarian. A few months ago, she didn't believe these simple facts affected her worldview. Something she often wondered about was how two people looking at exactly the same thing could have completely different opinions. Then Tori took a class that forced her to consider how and why her experiences affect her opinions. At first she was skeptical. She felt like she'd heard it all before. Of course her skin color and status gave her privilege, but so what? She knew she wasn't supposed to feel bad about it, but she couldn't see how these things affected her experience of the world. It's not that she didn't want to make the connection between experience and worldview, but no one had ever really explained it before. Then she took this class, and things slowly became more clear. She began to understand why the things that she used to think of as simple facts made her experience of the world unique. But still, she wasn't quite sure why this mattered. Then she started to talk to friends and classmates. As they agreed and disagreed on everything from standardized testing to treaty education to inclusion in the classroom to incorporation of queer material, she noticed how her past contributed to her opinion on each of these topics. The first challenge for Tori was how to see herself teaching treaty education. This was difficult for many reasons. As a student, most of her teachers did not incorporate First Nations material into daily learning activities. She turned out fine, or so she thought, so it was hard to comprehend why sharing this information was necessary, especially as an English and drama teacher. But this class became a space to talk through these feelings. She realized that much of her hesitation came from fear that she didn't know enough about treaties to incorporate them into her teaching. She realized that her teachers who didn't talk about treaties failed her. If she continued to allow treaty education to fade into the background, she would contribute to a cycle of oppression that would only become more difficult to escape. Thankfully, this class provided not only the knowledge that treaties need to be taught, but also an opportunity to plan lessons incorporating treaty education. This opportunity was presented with the requirement that the lessons be planned with peers, which meant she could talk through her ideas with a group of people whose different experiences gave them different opinions. Now everything began to connect, because she could see how her personal experience shaped a philosophy that differed from that of her colleagues. Beyond this class, she could imagine how this philosophy would also differ from that of many of her students, and her students would have opinions that challenged each other's worldviews. She could use that. In class, the professor discussed how curriculum is shaped by community, how students can learn from each other. Tori had always known this. In her experience as a gymnastics coach, she often asked her gymnasts to teach each other new skills, and would quickly adopt any analogy they offered. But now she better understood why this worked, because she'd experienced it. She knew that students often had different opinions. She'd learned that these opinions were dependent on factors such as perceived race, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, physical ability, gender, and many other aspects of personal identity. As a teacher, it would be important to consider students' backgrounds to understand why they had certain opinions and why these opinions might differ from her own. It would also be important for her to be upfront about her experiences and explain how they shaped her worldview, so her students and colleagues understood how her beliefs helped to construct her identity. Now that Tori understood this, everything was a little more clear. She felt better prepared to teach difficult topics because she knew how to present her views anti-oppressively in a way that didn't favor or leave out any particular group. This chapter of Tori's journey to discover curriculum ended well, but she knew the story was only just beginning.
Created using Powtoon.